What's up, everybody, and welcome in to another edition of Big Men on Basketball. It is Wednesday, February 8th, 2023. I hope you're all having a great day wherever you are. As always, I'm your host, Jeff Nadu, and we're here live every day on the Barstool Sportsbook YouTube channel, 4 o'clock Eastern. And we are coming off a great evening last night, 2-0 here on the show. And we look to keep it going here on a Wednesday, a nice, interesting card with plenty of action here on a hump day. I hope you're all enjoying your day. Let's get into it. Kelly in Vegas is back with us. Kelly, how are you?
I'm doing okay. 1-2 night. Last night, Georgia down the stretch just couldn't get it done for me. And K-State, for the most part, besides turning the ball over, pretty easy win over TCU in a revenge spot. And then, of course, New Mexico. New Mexico. I thought that at home they would have a spot against that Nevada Wolfpack, who's on my do not bet against list, but primarily in Reno. And so I was really frustrated with that result and looking for a bounce back night. 1-2 obviously doesn't cut it, but it's been a pretty good college basketball run. So I'm going to hope to keep it going throughout the weekend.
Yeah, I played the over in that New Mexico game, which it at halftime looked great, 86 points. And then it really hit a wall in the second half. It ended up finding its way over the number, luckily, but it wasn't easy. I had, what did I have listening? UConn, that was an easy winner. And I had Toledo, who I backed many times this year. So I like that team. Big win for that group on the road at Akron. So a lot of things to get to today. Several people are saying that I guess the mini golf tournament's going on. Again, I mean, we can only do this at one point during the day. So we can only do it when we can. If you're watching after the fact, you're checking us out maybe 5, 6 o'clock. Thank you for watching. We're here every day at 4 o'clock. Kelly, let's try to see if we can't find some winners tonight. You reached out to me about a couple, and we got plenty. We got SEC, got Big 12.
It's a really nice Wednesday card.
Yeah.
Yesterday didn't have anything like overly like amazing on it. Monday is kind of a snooze fest as well, but really hoping that between you and I, we can find maybe a handful of winners here.
Yep, MD checking in, Rick, Ryder, G, Frank, Dalton, Brother, Ryder, Matt. A lot of people in here. Welcome in. Thank you for watching. Do us a favor. Hit that like button. If you're new, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We also, Kelly, have a 28-point favorite in the American Athletic Conference tonight in Houston, hosting Tulsa. Now, keep in mind, in the first game, we're going to have to get into that one because that is a very interesting number, one you don't see very often in conference play. Let's start out with the Big 12. You got West Virginia and Iowa State. West Virginia laying 4. Total is 135.5. This one was 3.5. It's now up to 4. And you look at this game, I got to admit, I mean, Kelly, we've talked about West Virginia on this show. I mean, there are times where they look really good. There are times they look really poor. They have won 3 of their last 4 games at home. And if you're going to back the Mountaineers, it's at home. This is a very good team. That's a tough place to go play. And we've talked about it. It's kind of a really random place to go. It's, a small kind of just weird part of the country.
Yeah, it's just not easy to get to, right? Like, it's not just like you got to fly into Pittsburgh and then they got to get bused down to Morgantown. It's not just an easy place to get to, frankly.
I believe, and I could be wrong, but I do believe there is an airport in Morgantown. And it's
I'm sure there's an airstrip.
Like private airlift. Either way, you still have to travel. It's not an easy place to go to. And it's pretty far away from every other location in the Big 12, isn't it? Right? I mean, most of the locations
are weird. And that's why I'm kind of excited to see like Houston as well as UCF and a couple of other schools added to the Big 12, because it kind of, even though now it's going to be overarching of the entire United States with BYU in the mix, I think that's going to be fun for the handicap, because it has been fun since West Virginia joined the Big 12 in terms of a travel perspective, if you will.
The truth is, this game is very much going to come down to who doesn't turn the ball over, right? Okay, you look at Iowa State, number 1 in America in forcing turnovers. West Virginia, pretty good as well. We know with Bob Huggins, the Press Virginia. It's also going to be about hitting the glass. I think Iowa State's a really good defensive team, and I don't know how good of a defensive team West Virginia is. I have to be honest. This was a tough one for me because I don't really like backing road teams, and I especially don't like backing Iowa State, who's lost 4 straight games on the road. Now, the interesting thing about the 4 losses on the road, 3 of the 4 came by 3 points or less. 2 of them came by 1 and 2, I believe. So they play very close. I don't really believe or buy into West Virginia too much. I thought the total was pretty on point. I put it around 135, so I don't think there's a ton of value there. To be honest with you, Kelly, if I'm going to get a fully healthy Iowa State, I'm going to lean them here on the road. But like I've said time and time and time again, if you're regularly betting road teams in conference play, you will lose. And this is not a spot I'm looking to get involved with. So lean to Iowa State. I know you kind of like Mountie here.
Yeah, I'm going to play West Virginia. I played him -3.5 earlier. Glad to see the market moving with me up to 4, Jeff. And this is just one of those system plays. I don't love laying points with West Virginia either. I'd give them the coaching edge with Bob Huggins. You could give them 3.5 points for the home court advantage. It gets pretty rowdy in Morgantown, as we've spoken. I think ultimately this game's going to come down to free throws, and that's where I really don't trust the Cyclones. I just don't trust this team to make their free throws down the stretch. I think West Virginia is going to get the win because they're that unranked opponent at home, laying points to a ranked opponent coming in. That system is now 24-10 on the year. So just keep in mind, those are some of the spots that I blindly like to play. And we've got another one on the list that fits that same system as well.
Yeah, I will say, I think when you look at kind of how this game could play out, West Virginia is very reliant on getting to the free throw line. If you get the right ref in this game could take forever.
Oh, wow. That's a good point.
With the inability, I mean, Iowa State really, their foul rate is crazy. They have one of the highest foul rates in America. This one could go really long, and I think that can play to an over. I have to admit, I've been pretty impressed with Iowa State's offense this year. It's a lot better than it was in years past. They had some really horrific offenses. But, guys like Holmes and Kalsher and, Caleb Grill have really added to this offense and have been a lot better. It kind of wants me to feel like, this is like a 71-67 type of game. I kind of lean over, if I'm being honest. But I got to admit, I'm kind of done giving leans on these shows because these people just hold it against us. Look at this guy. I give Auburn under as a lean. You don't even mention that I went 2-0. I don't play those games. I'm just trying to give you guys opinion. I
think that's a big thing, Jeff, that I do money shots with Megan. I do a couple other wager talk shows, and I want to give opinions especially if people ask.
Yeah.
But just know the games that I'm tweeting out are the only games I'm putting my hard-earned money on. Unless it's like somebody else that I'm tailing that I trust. And then, of course, I'm not including that in my plays either.
Right. And I give my plays multiple times here. I'm just trying to include, 4 or 5 games in total. And then I take some questions.
Well, I mean, could you imagine how short the show would be if we were just like, all right, KIV likes West Virginia, one other game. All right, we're done here. Have a good day, guys. I mean, these guys like your show, Jeff, because you give out some of those smaller markets. You give out a lot of totals. Just even talking through on the show with you, I've made extra plays just based in conversation, something that sparked my interest, whether it's in here on Saturday Spaces.
Yeah, and I think it's about info, right? Trying to just address like some of the questions, try to address like weird spots, for instance.
Yeah.
And just, kind of keeping, abreast of what else is going on. But, this one I didn't play. And I always say that I didn't play this, but I like it. You know what I'm saying? I guess it is what it is.
I think that's why sometimes in like the comments, you'll see I'll say, okay, here's my 3 games, odds via Barstool Sportsbook, and then I add another tweet, and I'm like, for what it's worth, here's the other 4 games that didn't make my card. That means if you happen to agree, feel free to play them. But most of the time, it's going to go 1-2, 2-1. There was one time, of course, I gave out 3. I went 0-3 in my card and 3-0 in my leans. It's going to happen.
I'll tell you, I mean, one thing this year that I've started doing a lot more of is betting games live, betting second halves, finding halves where something happens that just doesn't make a lot of sense. Again, like for instance, last night, this is a prime example of live betting. I said on this very show, I did not want to bet Kansas State at 5.5. I didn't want to do it. And I said, I'm going to wait until live. I go into my live, the Barstool Sportsbook live portal. I see it, the 16-minute timeout, the 3.5-point favorites.
There you go.
Perfect. That's what I wanted. I'm going to play it. And that's been a lot of my arsenal this year, betting games live, getting kind of better numbers and, games I missed, things like that. I have a game we're going to talk about in a second that I think is a great live betting opportunity because I've kind of lost. I didn't get the first number on it to come out, but this is an interesting game here. I'm going to see if one team can kind of break their stride negatively on the road in Iowa State, and maybe a team that can find some consistency at home in West Virginia. Good luck to Kelly, who likes the Mountaineers here, minus. You got 3.5. Let's go to another one. I want to talk about this game because you and I have talked about UCF, and I've talked very openly. This team is not the same team without Michael Durr. Okay, they're a big 7-foot big man. They have lost, I believe, 6 games in a row. They've given up 73 or more in every game, some of which they've given up 80. This is not the same defense. And a lot of people are going to say, well, he's not a great offensive player. No, but he's a great shot blocker. He's a good passer. He's a good rebounder. He can give you 8 to 12 points a game. That is so big on a team. And now they're without Brandon Suggs as well, who didn't play their last game. So this team is not the same team. And I think when they get those guys back, if they get them back by the tournament in this American, they could be a really interesting group because I think they're the one team that has what it takes to beat a Houston. That said, I heard a press conference with Dawkins on the 28th, and he made it seem like Durr is nowhere near coming back. He got hand surgery. He's just working through it. So he ain't going to play tonight. They head out to Wichita, okay? First time these two teams played, Kelly, I had the under. It was 52-45. It was a beautiful under game. I think it'll be a little more high scoring tonight, but I think Wichita is going one way and UCF's going another. I like Wichita on defense. I think at home they really get energized behind that crowd, and I think they shoot the ball a lot better than did in the first game. The problem is this one opened around a pick 'em. It's been bet up to 2.5. This will be a game that I'm going to be a hawk on this live line. I'm going to see if I can't get close to a pick 'em. I'm going to play 2.5. I'm going to end up doing it because I think ultimately I don't think UCS is very good, and I thought the number was a little low. But I would like to get a better number on this game and maybe a slow start or something. I like Wichita. I'm playing them here.
I'm with you. I lean Wichita State, and God, they used to just have such a better home court advantage. I don't know really what's happened. I'm not going to lie to you. I haven't followed the Shockers as closely as I did when I lived in Kansas. And, they had a really solid coach. And not that Isaac Brown doesn't deserve some credit because this is still a pretty solid Shockers team. I just don't love this team now that we've seen this line move up past that pick'em. If you gave it to me in a pick'em, absolutely. I would say in a coin flip situation versus UCF, missing one of their best players. Wichita State, though, man, they've got to be better shooting the 3 ball. They've got to be, and they're just not. UCF's got some turnover problems. Ultimately, at 2.5, I'm going to stay away. But I'm with you here. This is a team where normally they were almost like automatic for me. I remember when I first moved to Vegas, 2008, 2009, and I was just betting games with teams that I was familiar with. And Wichita State was one of those teams, and they were almost an automatic bet at home. And I know that was 15 plus years ago at this point in time, but kind of seeing how far away from that they've shifted. So I'll be cheering for you to find a nice pick 'em in game here since it's kind of past the point of being able to bet for me.
For Houston, or not for Houston, for Wichita, it really comes down to what does UCF do from the 3-point line? Because they are UCF's turned into just a jump shooting team. They've shot the ball well, but if they aren't shooting the ball well, and that's one of the reasons I think this game is either UCF wins or Wichita rolls. Because look, if they're shooting the ball well, there's nothing you can do. Okay, you're not gonna be the dream team.
The good news is for you, UCF. Typically on the season, 36.5% from 3 on the road, dips down to just 32%. Not that 32% isn't something great and something nice to write home about. They're just not as great of a 3-point shooting team on the road.
Yeah, and that's, again, a lot of the time that's what happens. You shoot the ball better at home. Also, I continue to see, and I'm going to keep pointing this out, there is a huge stark in class between getting calls at home, between road teams. I saw several games last night where teams like New Mexico, and they're good at getting to the free throw line, but I think at one point it was 22-6 as far as foul shots. Again, being at home is so important, and I'm glad to back a home team here in Wichita. Dalton Ferragamo, why wouldn't you go to Arizona? Thought you were an Eagles fan, and they're going to do gambling content. Well, first of all, I wasn't invited. Second of all, it would cost thousands of dollars that I would have to personally pay for that I'm not looking to do. And number three, I got to be honest. I mean, my whole family's Eagles fans. I grew up rooting for the Eagles. And I've made it clear my dad is not in the best of health. So for me, I'm welcoming staying home with my family. Now, look, if I was invited, like I'm invited to Chicago. Plus, I'm going to Chicago the next day. So I have to do that. It's not just simply, hey, Penn, come pick me up in the private jet and take me to the game.
Well, especially too, I think a lot of people don't realize because we're not in New York City that it's kind of a difficult thing. When you're remote and not in office every single day, it's just different. The good news is you're in a Barstool State, as is Megan, so you guys can kind of go bebop around and do all that kind of content locally as well. I'm in the same boat, Jeff. I love the Phoenix Open. I don't care at all about the Super Bowl. I would never, even probably if it was my own team, the Denver Broncos, even when it was, I wasn't shelling out $7,000 for a ticket to sit in the nosebleeds, first and foremost.
And I'll be very honest with you, Kelly. This is something that has went on behind the scenes. They're having a party at Barstool Sansom in Philadelphia. I had contacted them and said, hey, I would love to be there in the building. They said, unfortunately, we picked other people that we want there, and it's sold out. That's what I was told. So, again, I tried. It's not.
Yeah, you're right, though. Like, I looked at Phoenix Open. I had a ticket for Wednesday and Thursday. I could have went. I decided to ultimately save my liver for March Madness instead. Going to figure out if I can do some content maybe with you, maybe fly to Louisiana and do some content with Megan. Well, I've got some ideas at least churning in my brain right now.
Now, let me ask you, Kelly, there's an interesting comment that's just come in. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this.
Wait, what? You have the same odds of winning a line of 2.5 than you do at Pick'em. Makes no sense to like it at Pick'em. We're talking.
Do you know how important 2.5 3 points are in basketball to me? I mean, that is, you talk about blasphemy, man. I think this is the interesting thing about the internet. Most of the time, like Brandon Walker last night made one of the dumbest comments in the history of Twitter, saying that LeBron is not a hateable individual at all. It's not true. Nobody hates LeBron. He's not hateable. When everyone and their mother pretty much hate LeBron. It's not like just some random thing that popped up. This is something where you say it's blasphemy that we don't like a number at Pick'em to 2.5, but in fact, it's actually blasphemous for what you're saying.
Yeah, I think Zach doesn't maybe understand, and I try to not make fun of. I try not to unit shame. I try not to do a lot of things that I used to do on the internet, Jeff, because I realize how many recreational novice bettors there are coming into the marketplace. Listen, we can talk till we're blue in the face about key numbers in certain sports. As you mentioned, 2.5 points is a pretty significant amount in college basketball. That being said, I think Wichita State will win this game. When this game lands 1 or 2, I'm going to be very happy I didn't lay 2.5. I do think this is still a coin flip type scenario, and at a Pick'em, I can make a case for Wichita State. And I think the biggest thing is to remember, we're not betting these teams, we're betting these numbers.
I never ever do this. And the only reason I'm doing it is because I've been very much ahead of UCF struggles recently. And I'm willing to bet a bad number. And I'll tell you right now, if this falls 1 or 2, I'm going to be through the fucking roof.
Yeah. Can somebody tell Zach you actually don't have a 50% chance? That's not how this works. It's actually you're giving 10% to the sportsbook ahead of time, actually.
Correct.
So you've got to hit like 56.4% to just make money. I wish that it was a 50-50.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Zach wins every bet he makes. That's probably what I'm thinking here. Real quick, by the way, shout out to LeBron James. Breaks the scoring record, however, lose to the Thunder.
Yeah, hey, of course. I give out OKC on your show on Monday and then go back to the well with them last night, get the outright win. I'm like, oh, of course tonight you guys play really hard against LeBron.
Yes.
Just so you know, Zach thinks you're not understanding. So anyway, math is hard. Let's move along.
Some people you can't speak to, man. I all you can do is try to help, but you know, it's like last night, that picture. Where is it? Right here. I posted this picture and says, this is the greatest of all time. I had people 100%. Call me, you fat fuck piece of shit. You don't fucking know anything. Who the fuck even is that? I mean, this new generation behind me, man, they have no respect. I mean, you're talking about Michael Jordan, the most influential athlete in the history of sports.
Ever.
A guy that won how many titles, Kelly? 6.
Yeah.
6. And then I heard, oh, he didn't he scored against nobodies. Well, what, like Magic Johnson, Isaiah
I
Thomas?
don't like the debate because we're looking at two different styles of basketball too. I saw an interesting tweet about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who took one 3-point shot ever, right? He made
Right.
one ever. Sorry, excuse me, he made one ever,
Yep.
right? We're talking about a guy who doesn't take 3-point shots. What would if we just did LeBron without all but one 3-point shot, where would he actually sit? I mean, we're talking about different positions.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they weren't named a similar position, right? Power forward. But now we've seen the whole dynamic of basketball really start to change over the last 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
So, yes, of course, what was played in the 90s is now played in 2023. It's going to be a different style of play.
You also think about, when I was a kid, you think about some of the rivalries, how fucking brutal the NBA was. And there were
my God,
fights and
what's funny? So obviously, I was a kid when all these guys played, and you knew the names, right? Like you knew Michael Jordan, you knew Larry Bird, but I don't ever recall watching several of these games. They would be on, but I don't remember sitting down with my dad or anybody just watching. And to watch 30 for 30s, old highlights, these guys were assholes.
Oh yeah.
It was kind of crazy to see. I never would have thought Larry Bird was such a dickhead, but apparently had no idea.
Well, you also mentioned Kareem. Think about that. He scored almost 40,000 points, and just didn't shoot the three ever. He never actually shot the three ever. Wasn't part of his game whatsoever. That's pretty incredible, really.
The comments have me dying right now. Sorry if I'm not paying attention because these guys are just obliterating Zach. But
by the way, let me ask you, Kelly, real quick. Let me just address this. I mean, imagine also, right? That's a good point. I mean, Michael Jordan, it's regularly talked about that he didn't eat correctly. He gambled excessively, drank,
smoked cigars.
I've mentioned Allen Iverson. I remember Allen Iverson used to literally go to a casino, get drunk, have sex with women, come to the game the next day, and was all good. Well,
look at Dennis Rodman flying to Vegas, middle of the season, and Phil Knight's just we just have to let Dennis be Dennis. And it's let Dennis be Dennis. You're in the middle of the playoffs.
Yes. And look, you can belittle Enes Kanter all you want, but he wasn't wrong, in what he said. So I don't want to get into
make fun of me all you want. I think that being able to stand up for your beliefs is what makes this country so great, whether I agree with what you have to say or not. And that's, I think, his whole message.
And I'll tell you what, it is very rare to find an individual willing to be alienated in his belief, right? Where you have to realize he's given up his career for his beliefs and some of this stuff. This is a guy he's literally wanted in death in his country. He can't go to his country. They'd kill him on sight.
Absolutely, they would.
And he realizes how important some of the folks that live around us don't truly understand how lucky they are to live here, truly. And they take it for
I think
granted.
most of them are born here and they're spoiled little brats. Remember, you were just talking about that generation behind us, Jeff? Those ones. Yeah, I think they're a little clueless on how really scary certain other parts of the world actually can be, and how you aren't just allowed to say whatever comes to mind in a press conference.
I'm doing some shows. I'm looking into the country of Haiti, which is very close to this country. It's not far. It's a hop, skip, and a jump away. The country is essentially run by gangs. There are 40 gangs that run the country. There's no president. The president was assassinated.
Yeah, he just got assassinated.
Yeah, and you literally, it's run by these criminal groups that are armed and steal and you have people leaving there in droves, and it's it's a complete mess. It's people don't get how truly lucky they are to live here, and I've learned that in studying Mexico and Haiti and these places. It's just some people take everything for granted. But let's get into well, that's not very nice. We're not going to send him there, but.
I told you every time I gotta close it because I lose. I'm like a squirrel. I just start seeing him just keep going down. Zach's getting buried. Then other hilarious things.
Well, thank you, Jerome. I don't know.
Frank keeps asking the same question. I'm gonna screw it up. I say names wrong all the time.
Bartolo Colon.
Bartolovic, the basketball
Bart
site.
Swarvik.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry, I was way off there.
Yeah, no, I was like, yeah, alone, baseball player. No, was more asking about other sites for analytical data. There's a ton of stuff out there.
Hoop
Literally,
math.
Google is your friend. You want to find out about injuries, you want to find out about some other stuff. Obviously, double check wherever you're reading and make sure it's a good source. But yeah, those two by far. I love KenPom Plus though, just because I like to be able to manipulate data to support how my argument of a game is going to go.
Yeah, I mean, you got Hoop Math out there. You got Haslametrics is a good one. I mean, there's some good ones. I mean, a lot of the stuff, I think by this point, you should probably have, at least for me. I mean, I know I'm kind of crazy, but I have all this stuff up in my head, and I just use it for reference. But thank you for everybody for watching. Nonetheless, there aren't always people we agree with in here, but some of these individuals in here today are pretty funny. What do we have? 330 people in here watching live. Thank you for joining us. If you're watching us on Twitter, we appreciate you as well. Just make sure you hit that like button. Let's get into the next game, Kelly. I want to quickly just talk about this and how interesting it is. This is a huge number.
Huge number.
I mean, huge. You never see this. And we saw this a year or two ago in the West Coast Conference with Gonzaga when they just were winning every game by 40, it seemed like. There were times where they were 29, 30-point favorites against the Pacifics and the teams like that. You look at this game the first time, Houston won 89-50 in Tulsa. And I talked early in the non-conference about we bet Houston seemingly every game in the first half. And they were up 20 in the first half every time. Now, in the first half in conference, it's been a lot tougher. They've really had the competition kind of get smaller. It's tough. This is a tough conference. But Tulsa is nowhere close to the level of Houston. You got a first half tonight at 17. First game, I think they were up 22 in the first half. Houston's one of the best defensive teams in the first half in America, only allowing about 24 points a game. They're scoring around 40 in the first half at home. It was pretty close for me on a play. It's just really hard to lay these kind of numbers in conference. Houston's off a game on Sunday against Temple. They have struggled. And this does seem like, though, kind of a spot where they kind of jump out and never look back. It's been a while since Houston really hasn't been tested. They were tested against Temple twice and lost one. Cincinnati. A lot of teams really took this team to the cleaners. It's a weird spot, Kelly, because you don't lay these numbers very often. And Houston is a team that struggles to score at times, so it's hard to lay nearly 30 points.
You know, they do. They have SMU on deck for what it's worth. This is a Houston team. I kind of got in trouble. I don't know if you remember, I was kind of joking around on Twitter about how Temple must own Houston, right? Because they were, leading up until almost halftime. And then, of course, the entire dynamic of the game shifted. And I got a bunch of Temple backers that took the plus 11, very angry with me. But I was dead serious in the fact of, if you want to beat Houston, you better be knocking down some threes. And that's what we saw from Temple in the first half. I believe they were like 9 for 13 to start the game, which is nothing short of incredible. So if you want to be betting against Houston, you better be betting against them with a really good three-point shooting team. Obviously, I'm not laying this, but I'm definitely not taking it with Tulsa here.
The pace they play at's very tough, too. It's not conducive to win by margin. You need a lot to go right because they have one of the slowest tempos in America. I will say Correct. This, though. Took care of Tulane pretty easily, took care of SMU in conference, and also took care of Tulsa. So against these types of teams in conference, they've got the job done. Would I lay a 28.5, 30 here? No. I would probably lean more towards the first half. It's going to be interesting to see. This is a big barometer game for me with Houston. Are they going to just come out and beat up a bad team? They've done it throughout the season. I think they do it tonight. I would lean on laying the first half, but I didn't ultimately get there on it. All right, listen, Zach, do me a favor, Zach. Enough, okay? Just go say what you want, but just enough with this conversation. I'm tired of you kind of weighing down the chat. You clearly don't understand any of the folks
it's
in
fine.
here.
I'm enjoying it because I know it's helping our algorithm, Jeff. Just absolutely people just burying Zach in the mentions. Zach, it's okay. I understand. He probably also thinks roulette on red and black is a 50-50.
It's funny. I was going to say that. I was going to bring up the fact that Zach probably assumes that when he bets red and black, that's a 50-50 chance, but doesn't realize that there is 0 and double 0, which cuts into your probability.
Yep.
Buddy,
and actually red and black is more of a 50-50 proposition with 1-0, of course, only 1-0, than it is to bet sports, in case you wanted to really know the math behind it.
Yeah, Zach, listen, I think you maybe should go back to like fourth grade and learn probabilities and things like that. This is very elementary school thinking by you. And I, I don't know, it's kind of fascinating that you're
I'm
this
just guessing he's never taken a college course on probabilities.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you. I did terrible in the first couple of weeks of statistics, and I went and saw the professor, and I was like, I just don't understand. And he sat down and he started explaining it to me from a gambling perspective. And all of a sudden, I was like, wait a minute. So when you're rolling the dice and when you're, playing with certain cards and you have these probabilities, and all of a sudden my brain just went, and that's what Zach means.
It's
just a very basic statistics lesson.
I was related to one of the in The Wire in season 4 when Pres becomes a teacher, and he relates to students through gambling and dice, to teach them probability, and they really take and they take the knowledge and you have to relate it to what they knew, and it seems like that professor did the same thing. Gambling is a great way to learn probability, and again,
once you understand implied probability, I promise you, no matter how drunk you are in Vegas, you will not sit at certain tables. You know that, whether it's the double deck blackjack versus the automatic shuffler versus the six deck shoe, roulette, love roulette. But I'm not sitting at a roulette table longer than 10 minutes. Like, I'm going to throw some change at the roulette table to have fun and something to cheer for on your walk into dinner. But like the people that are playing, like, that's why I like Baccarat the best. Yes, you do have to pay to play the banker, but if you're a player like me, then there's a fun chance there where you actually have a good opportunity to win.
Alabama and Florida is the SEC game of the night. This is an interesting one because this number was around 10 and a half. It's now down to 9.5. A lot of smart money coming in on the Florida Gators. We've seen Florida, recently get the job done in a big spot, right? Which isn't normal, but they beat, Tennessee last week. I thought they were pretty good against Kentucky in Kentucky. I mean, that's a tough place to go play, and I thought were pretty good in that game. I don't think they're ready to win a conference like this. Are they ready to compete in the NCAA tournament? Probably. I think they're good enough. That said, the way they defend, the way Alabama defends, I know the pace is going to be high here, but this kind of screamed under to me. I'm surprised the numbers kind of being bet up. It's hard betting unders when it comes to Alabama, but Kelly, the interesting thing about them is they've actually went under in 8 of 10 because some of the numbers just put too high. We need to remember Alabama is not the up and down bad defensive team that they've been in years past. When you look at some of the past scores between these teams, this is a team in Alabama that is much better on the defensive end. And what I've noticed is a lot of teams are just dropping coverage and saying, okay, Florida, shoot, go ahead. A lot of what teams are doing to Arkansas. And Arkansas started making them. But if Florida can, you're not going to make them here, going on the road to Coleman Coliseum, difficult to do. I don't really want to bet against Alabama, but I kind of like the under a little bit here.
Now that you said that, that's exactly what I was talking about. This game, I just immediately wrote off. I missed the good number on Florida. And mainly because I remember we were just talking about different sites to manipulate data. Florida is much better at home than they are on the road. Let me tell you exactly why. First of all, they shoot 8% less field goal position. From field goal percentages. They are almost 10% worse from three-point land, just 24.3% on the road. They don't make free throws on the road. This is a team that all of a sudden I'm going, ooh, I thought there was some really interesting home-road dichotomies with some of the teams in the Big 12. Boy, Florida is one of them. I'm not going to go against the sharp money here, but now that you said you lean the under, I think I might have to join you there.
Yeah, I kind of had this one a bit lower. I would have put it around 145. I mean, Florida is just a team that just plays a lot of low-scoring games, and Alabama is just dominating. They are hard to deal with. I feel like Florida can kind of keep them out of transition a little bit as well. I get a feeling this one's just set a little too high. I could see it, Kelly, being, if Alabama covers, I think this could be like 81-65 or something. I could see that. I don't think it's going to be a tough game to play because unders with Alabama are difficult, but
of course, they're never fun.
I don't think I would bet an under here and sit there and watch this game by any means. But I liked even 148.5 on an under. I think 150 is a good one too. I'm going to play under 150.5 here. I got two different numbers. I got a bad number on 148.5. I thought that was too high, and it goes up to 150. Now I think it's back down to where it was, but I kind of like the under at any rate here.
Yeah, I'm going to join you right now. That is something that kind of correlates with why I'm not betting Florida. Lean the under. You like the under, so I'm going to join you. 150.5. Here we go.
I also see a lot of people are talking about Arkansas, and I don't talk nicely about them. I don't know if some of you have noticed, but I literally have worn Arkansas basketball shirts on this show. They're not a good 3-point shooting team.
I think the biggest thing is sometimes the fans get really upset.
Right.
I was giving Fran McCaffrey a bunch of grief during the KU game, right? And a bunch of KU fans are giving him a bunch of grief during the K-State game. Like, same thing. Like, he's saying the same words, but different fan bases are going to be more emotional about their teams. Arkansas had a really nice win last night. I like Eric Musselman. I think they're a good coach. Do I think they're the best team in the SEC? No.
I don't need.
Do I think that they're going to go deep in March? No.
I don't need to give you fucking flowers. I don't like you fucking fan bases. Shut up. I don't need to give you fucking
flowers. I can't.
I don't care.
I always do say that. Do you want me to give you a cookie? Will that make you feel better?
I don't care.
And I tell you your basketball team is pretty.
I've also said, like, I think when Nick Smith comes back, they're a team that gets better as the season goes on. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Like, this team is still majorly struggling. They're shooting at 30% in conference. That's not good. They're at 30% on the season. That's hideous. This is a bad basketball team from the 3-point line. And it was costing them, and I was making money off of it. That's not to say I don't think that long-term they'll be an interesting team because Nick Smith is so good. I think he's one of the best freshmen in America. I think they're a very good team to bet in a kind of a futures market because I think they could catch on and really kind of be the team we think they can be. All right, let's get to one more game here. And Kelly, you mentioned to me this is a game you liked. And I'll tell you, this is another great game late night in the Mountain West Conference, a conference that continues to deliver very good quality games. I've said to you many times, I love Utah State. I really love this team, and they can shoot the damn rock with Ashworth and Funk and Shulga. There's just some really good players in this team, and that's a tough place to play. We talked about this a week or so ago with that, student section they have there. It's just that's a tough state to go play. Utah, that's a tough place. BYU, all tough places to go play. But Kelly, I read in the San Diego Union Tribune recently that according to the guy that writes about them, multiple players have mentioned this is a game they have circled.
Ooh.
Due to the fact that they have lost there like 3 or 4 times in a row. Now, I've had some success betting overs in this conference because a lot of the teams have been fast. They're not – Utah State ain't a good defense team at all. And San Diego State's playing a lot faster. I think they're more efficient on offense. And I don't know that they're a vintage San Diego State defense. I think they're good. I don't think they're great. And I think that was evident kind of early on, where they struggled, in some of those tournaments. You also look at, in conference play, their 2-point defense has been shitty. So this is a really great game. I might bet this game live at a total standpoint. Maybe a slow start. I get like a 140 here. I might play it over. What do you like here, Kelly?
I'm going to take Utah State, another unranked team, laying points at home. You mentioned that San Diego State has this game circled. Where you think that Utah State doesn't? They just got their asses kicked by this team just a couple of weeks ago on the road, lost by 10 in San Diego. As you mentioned, great student section, great offense, the best 3-point shooting team in the country. San Diego State was able to stifle that pretty significantly the last time
on
around,
the road.
right? On the road, yes. And that's kind of why I think that they're going to see a big rebound, if you will, from that tonight, because it's not like San Diego State is just a significantly amazing defense, right? They have a good defense. I think they caught Utah State on a bad night. They can't really block in the paint here. Every once in a while, you'll see some missed free throws on their end from time to time too. As you mentioned, this is not a vintage San Diego State team. I think Utah State is got a good running in here. They're going to give Nevada fits probably in the Mountain West tournament. This has been a really fun conference for me that I've been following since I moved to Nevada. And the Mountain West has got some really solid teams, some really solid basketball teams, and wouldn't be surprised to see a few of them make a couple runs in March.
I'll tell you what, I don't. I'm going to play the over here. I don't.
Okay.
I don't get this. I really don't. I mean, so the first game went to 160. It was 85-75.
Okay.
I mean, Utah State only shot 33% from three, which isn't their norm. San Diego State kind of shot out of the lights, but is it really? They're shooting almost 40% in conference. I mean, both these teams play fast on offense.
Yeah, they do.
I just don't think Utah State shoots as poorly. And I think that's one reason that I like them in this game. If I had to pick a side too, Ken Palm had it at 151. I'd
so here's
around there too.
Here's something I didn't have open when I was talking about Utah State. So they are the best 3-point shooting team in the country at 40.8%. Well, guess what they are at home? 46.3.
Yeah, I mean,
46.3%. That is insane. Hey, Zach, you want a 50-50 proposition? Utah State from three at home is almost a 50-50 proposition.
There you go. Finally, a 50-50 for him. Also, I want to kind of highlight this. Stephen Ashworth, 168 threes. He's made 79. That's 47%. That's crazy. Taylor Funk, 154 threes. He's made 63. That's 41%. Sean Barstow, 6'8" senior. 50 attempts. He's made 22. Shulga, 94 attempts. He's made 32. That's even low on this team. I mean, this is some crazy stuff, man, from a free throw standpoint, man. I'm gonna play over 146. I'm gonna play 3 games tonight. I'm gonna step out a little bit here and back a couple of games here. And you like Utah State? Are you, you worried about that hook?
West Virginia. You want to know what I think I'm gonna do? And it's something you talk about all the time. I think I'm going to just do Utah State, West Virginia money line parlay. I know it's not really my style. It's just
there you go.
But I think that is the safer bet there. And frankly, maybe we should add Wichita State.
Yeah, I like you. I like Wichita State, man. I really do.
Okay, so I know we wanted to have an early out today, but I got to ask you one more game, especially because the comment section is joining me.
You got 5 more minutes. No problem.
Florida State is the grossest,
no,
smelliest, nasty. I know you say you're done, but tell me, why is this line 3.5? It is disgusting.
I mean, listen, when you play Syracuse against Syracuse, you got to make some shots. You got to make threes. And I think Florida State is turning the corner, but this is just really a personal thing for me. I don't I've tried backing this team, and they never get there with me. They never get it. They never play well. I think they've turned a corner, and if you're going to back them right now is the best time to do it. But Syracuse also has some, the Boeheim stuff kind of off the court. Yeah. They're not very good on defense. Yeah, listen, it fits a system, surely.
It just feels like the biggest trap game on the board today. Florida State is just atrocious. I don't think they've turned a corner whatsoever. I'm friends with a bunch of Florida State fans, and they are just repulsed by this team. They started writing them off when they lost, 4 in a row to teams like, Troy and Stetson, and this team is just not a good basketball team. Clearly, just by looking at them on paper, but Syracuse has their own issues here, especially going into Tallahassee tonight. God, I'd love to play Florida State. I just don't know if I have the cojones.
Cole, listen, man, you are such a fucking simp for Arkansas. Holy shit, dude. Do you wait out of the locker room hoping you can get a date with one of the players? Christ, bro. This is amazing. You're so mad that I just don't they can't shoot. It's a fact.
I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. I agree with Jeff here. If you guys remember at the Missouri game, I was sitting there and I was pouting, and I was like, if I knew Arkansas was all of a sudden going to just magically flip a switch and be able to hit a 3-point shot, do you think I would have taken Mizzou tonight? And granted, Mizzou got the win because of foul trouble and everything like that for Arkansas, but still, I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, of course, the night I bet against this team, this is the result that we get.
It's not like it's not like they're 41%. I'm just being hard-headed and saying, I just don't like them anyway. No, the fact is they can't shoot, and it's been all season, man. Also, Kelly, Riley Petrano says, I liked the rack tweet, Jeff. That was bold. I don't know if I've been doing that forever. I feel like, Kelly, is that the first time you saw me do that, or?
No. You've done it as long as I can remember. It's just like
she has a great rack. Am I wrong?
What are you gonna do?
Does she not? Her own grandparents have said she has the best rack in Hollywood.
That was pretty funny. Yes, that did happen.
Now, I'll admit, Sydney Sweeney's not my type, but she is great.
I was actually just thinking that, but I wasn't going to call you out for that.
Yeah, no, she's not my type, but there's something sexy about her. I don't know. Obviously, I do know it's her rack, but
There you go.
okay. Let's finish up. You also, Kelly, you mentioned to me Cal Baptist.
So there's always every show we do, if you will, a couple days a week. I have my buddy Adam will send me like some ridiculous, stupid small school that I could care less about. It'll be like Monmouth. The other day was Milwaukee, 17.5, and they freaking won outright, which thank you both for that. But do you think that I would have ever for 1 second sprinkled any of the money line? No, of course not. No. But some of those under the radar schools that really have started to turn a corner, Cal Baptist, the lines come down from the opening number from 7 down to 6 and maybe even lower now. So Cal Baptist and then Boston University was the other one.
I mean, Cal Baptist is an ugly one. I mean, that's just a group. I mean, Utah Valley is the best defense in the WAC. That's a tough trip too. Orem, Utah is where they are. It's just a very small, remote place. Cal Baptist is I don't like backing them at home. I don't want to back them on the road. They're those types of teams I just don't want to back. And against that defense, no interest. BU, the only team I want to back in that conference is Colgate. And, that's pretty much my only opinion there. BU has some kids, though, that are upperclassmen, older kids. BU's actually had a, decent season, but they've struggled lately. So, yeah, I don't have much there on that one either. I'm trying to think. There was another, Grand Canyon, New Mexico State. I thought that if I'm going to look in that conference, that might be one that I look at. I have this weird stubbornness in New Mexico State. I think Grand Canyon's dealing with some injuries, but I'll be honest. Do you
have any West Coast overs for us tonight?
Other than the San Diego State one, no. The West Coast Conference is tomorrow, luckily.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It is a Thursday.
Yeah.
They are a Thursday.
But yeah, I think the three I like tonight, as I said, Wichita -2.5. I like Alabama, Florida under 150.5, and I'm going to play Utah State, San Diego State over 146.
All right, I'm on Utah State, West Virginia. I wanted to get to the window with UNLV. I really, really did, and I may. We got a couple more minutes for the show's ending, and I may end up looking at a couple more things. I know that there was a couple question marks there in Laramie, but again, as Jeff likes to remind me, what are you doing? Playing a UNLV team off a loss, headed to the high altitude, laying points on the road. So I'm going to keep a look at that one. And then FSU, I have to agree with Jeff here. I don't think I can stomach that play, if you will, but it does sure look like the trappiest game on the board tonight.
I will say, Wyoming's pretty bad. I mean, they've dealt with injuries all year. Graham Ike hasn't played. Maldonado's been in and out. I generally like teams off of a bad loss where they get
and you know what sucks is I ended up giving out Air Force that night. And I had Fresno on my list. I texted my buddies that went to Fresno State and I said, "What do you guys think?" And they're like, "Well, it looks kind of gross." And then of course they go into Vegas and win outright, not just only cover. But it was kind of one of those weird losses for UNLV. They didn't shoot really well, and I think if you watch UNLV basketball long enough, you know they're going to have a couple of those really stupid losses at home in Thomas Mack, and then they're going to fuck around, go on the road tonight in Laramie, and blow out Wyoming.
Well, I think, and someone's saying Wyoming had 3 players dismissed.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to look up. So thank you
want to look up
who
it is? I mean, they could.
Yeah, no, that's why I saw it right before we went on the show because I had texted you Wyoming this morning, or excuse me, UNLV this morning, and I want to double check and see what's kind of going on there because they may be nobodies, they may be somebody's, they may be guys that weren't going to get but 2 minutes anyway.
I mean, to be honest, all 3 are players that don't play much.
That's what I figured.
So that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, I don't want to back Wyoming. I will say too. I think you were on this past Friday. Air Force, right? They played Nevada, and I was at the bar. I was hanging out with some people, and one of the bartenders that him and I bet a lot together, he said to me, is there any college second halves that you like? I said, I'm looking at Air Force. They're up down 3, I think.
Yeah, they had
And
a
I'm
great
thinking,
first half.
Nevada looks like shit here. Like, I'm going to just play them in the second half. Like, they're at home. F it. And they just cruise.
Well, and I had a bunch of people. I woke up Saturday morning for our spaces just chirping. I'm like, what do you want me to do? They were down 3 at half. I'm catching double digits. Yes, Nevada's a very solid team at home. They looked atrocious. Then they finally turned a corner mid-game. I can't play the game for these guys too. Maybe Zach can. Maybe Zach can go out there and hit some outside shots for me.
Luckily, Zach has disappeared. Thank God. It was good because he was hanging out. And
did you make a call?
No, I put him on a timeout because I was sick of dealing with him. So
I put him in a timeout.
And then he just disappeared. So, by the way, guys, I want to just kind of I don't usually plug anything, but I'm working on something new, and I'm going to put this out, I believe, tomorrow. And Kelly, I think you'll enjoy this. I'm putting on my Sit Down YouTube channel. I'm going to start a series each week about. It's going to be essentially about wasted talent in sports, individuals that were very high level and they had very sad ends to their life. People like Kellen Winslow, Darren Sharper, Aaron Hernandez. But I'm doing a video tomorrow, and I'm sure you remember this individual, Lawrence Phillips. He played at Nebraska, won a national title with them. I think really one of the saddest stories in the history of sports. Really just a horrifically sad ending. A lot of people believe he was killed in prison by prison guards. So I'm going to kind of talk about that story. And I think people in this will like that. It's a little different than some of the normal content I do, but basically athletes that have ruined their lives due to, there's a story about Lawrence Phillips, Kelly, that in a warm-ups in a game at one point, he collapsed on the field and the trainers go over and they smelled alcohol in his breath and he was drunk.
Oh, geez.
And Dick Vermeil cut him loose. And Dick Vermeil talked about that. He's still haunted to this day by cutting him because
he feels
instead
guilty?
of helping him. Yeah, he felt guilty. And he's just a really sad story. And I've got some really good info on him. And I think people will like that. So that's something I have coming out. I'm going to blog about that stuff. So something to check out. Kelly, what do you have going on tonight? Anything special? How was your wine night?
It was great. And I'm going to a second one tonight. Don't ask. Now, speaking of alcoholism, no, all jokes aside, I
Jesus,
went to Monday. I had a little, I guess you could call it like one of those like women's events where like a bunch of successful women in a room get together. And
how do I go to those? Can
right. The good news is I'm the poorest and the least educated and the least successful in the room. So it's perfect for me because I get to go and pick these women's brains. Tonight's more of a wine tasting. One of my good friends owns a little wine shop and has been begging me to come in for months. So I said, all right, I'll bring a couple friends. We're going to have a good time, eat some cheese, drink some wine, and maybe I'll catch a couple games on my phone and try not to be too rude.
By the way, speaking of older women, Kelly, not that you're older, but maybe some of the people you hang out with are.
I am, yes.
There's a story that's repopulating on TikTok and stuff involving this kid in Italy. He's 19 years old, and he recently proposed to his 76-year-old girlfriend. It's a fascinating story, and the internet's essentially beating him up for it.
Oh my God.
She's 56 years older than him.
How rich is she?
Not at all. Some people have gotten it confused that she's a billionaire. From what I understand, she is not a billionaire. She's just a woman that he enjoys being around. And I'm going to tell you this. There's one thing that I learned about. Another thing that I have a real problem with is let people do what they want to do. Okay. If he has enjoyment with her and she has enjoyment with him, who are we as a society to tell him anything or her anything?
It'd be different if he was like 15 or something perverted. Like, correct. He's an adult. Let him. He wants to hook up with a grandma. Then that's
now. Kirk Minahan said that when he was a kid, he enjoyed like 50, 60-year-old women. I wouldn't go 60, but I actually had an experience with a 52-year-old woman at one point, and it was very enjoyable.
So it was really funny how guys in the comments earlier were asking about my type of guy. And I was joking with my mom. So my mom's 71, and I was joking with her about, Mom, why don't you get out there? Why don't you date? And she's like, ugh, these old men. And I was starting to think about it, and I'm like, oh my God, like the older I get, the older these men have to get. Because
wait, do you ever like, is it possible, and I'm just curious, is it possible that maybe your mom is into younger men?
well, maybe, but also, is it possible that most old men are not attractive and gross? And
I feel
mean,
like I've heard many women that are,
that's
I've talked about before, Rochelle Ryan, who a lot of us people at
yeah.
Barstool
I
know.
just started following her on Twitter.
Yeah, she's mentioned to me multiple times, like I can't lie, I've tried to hang with Rochelle Ryan. I mean, we
Ooh.
talk on the phone and text and stuff. And she says to me, "You're too old." I said, "I'm 33. I'm way younger than you." She goes, "I like 20-year-olds." I said, well, okay. But that's what, like, then I'm not saying Rochelle's 56 years old, but a lot of older women that are single, they've been with an old guy for so long. And it's like, I need something younger.
Yeah, no, I just can't imagine a world where even if I'm 50, I want to date a 50-year-old. Like, I'm fun. I like to party. I like to have a great time. And sometimes that does correlate with age, and sometimes it doesn't. The couple that we're going out with tonight are like early 40s, but I feel like we're the same age. The couple that we're good friends with down the street, I found out the other night his wife is 10 years younger than me. And I felt, speaking of feeling like a grandma, I felt like a grandma, but she's got 2 kids. So for me, I don't feel like, I don't wake up in the morning like, oh, I'm old. I just don't have that thought.
Then again, I have noticed though, like women around your age, I've noticed that they actually do like older men. I talked to a girl one time, and I always tell this story. She had asked me a question like, "Who's your celebrity crush?" or something. I answered, and I said, "Well, who's yours?" And she said to me, it was the most random answer. She said, "Joe Madden, the coach, the baseball coach."
Yeah.
And I said, "Wow, really?" She goes, "Yeah." She goes, "I love silver-haired guys." And
Ew,
I think
no,
like,
no
let
gray
me ask
hair.
you, Kelly,
No gray hair. No.
but like Pat Riley, he's a good-looking older guy. Like,
No.
he's kind of suave,
No. No. Okay. I'm not going to do gray hair. These guys are asking, so I'm going to go over really fast. I need fitness. I need nice teeth. I need a good job. Or some sort of entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need somebody that has money. I need somebody that is a go-getter, is an advantageous person. I need somebody that if I wake up on Tuesday and I'm like, I want to go jump out of an airplane, you're going to say, what time are you leaving? Or what time are we leaving? Or whatever. I can't even begin. I was joking with my boyfriend's mom because the person that I'm going out with tonight is a CEO of a very prestigious club. And she's like, said something, and I go, okay, well, we're on the hunt. I go, 50 to 60 yachts. And she's like, did you and Brett break up? I go, ew, not for me.
For you.
Not for his mom. It was a joke because I want to reap the benefits of her dating the guy with the yacht. I don't want to date the guy with the yacht. Mm-hmm. It's just not, I don't know. It's just not my thing.
Some people will call it, you're just buying women. I call it just doing what I do. People
like I said on the last show, Jeff, you guys all pay for it one way or another.
And I'll tell you what, the only people that bitch about men that have money that get women are men that don't have any money. So
bingo.
Women like money. That's
how I think Brianna went on to a thing, said the other day. She was like on I don't remember which podcast, but she like went on a tangent about like some of the women that she's friends with and who they choose to date. Like, yeah, if he'd rather sit at home and play video games and take you out to dinner, like find a new man.
Well, it's almost like I even look at like my own sister or like, girls I know, like family member, nieces and stuff, and, cousins. You look at some of the men they bring home, and it's like, what do you, like, I know plenty of chicks that like, I know one girl, her husband has a 50-year prison sentence, 50 years. She goes and sees him every week.
God bless.
And it's
love.
It's loyal.
I don't get it.
I get it. It's like some of these girls, like they support their husbands all day. I don't get it. I never understood it. And then there's girls that obviously get it and they know their worth. But Kelly, it's always good talking to you about this stuff. Enjoy the wine night.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me know if there's ever a cougar that's on the market. I might have.
I know. I've got your whole like. I figured out what your type is. We'll leave it at that.
I have a few types, but that said, good seeing you, Kelly. We'll see you next week. Jim Root's on with us tomorrow. Make sure you check us out for that. It won't be as, all sorts of different subjects. But always fun when Kelly comes on. Kelly, I'll see you over the weekend on the
Saturday Spaces, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. We'll see you guys then.
All right. See you guys.